My name's Rich Hanlon. Welcome to this segment of My Wild Neighbors. We are at State Game Lands 313, aka the Muck. Here's the sign I was just standing in front of. There's where I parked the car. And here is the very short path to the boardwalk. So we'll take a walk over here, and as soon as I turn the corner here, you'll see just how short this trail is. Making the turn. And there's the boardwalk, and there's the blind. So let's take a slow walk along this boardwalk path and see what wild neighbors there are with which to make the acquaintance today. Welcome to the Muck, a product of glacial activity. 20,000 years ago, when the Laurentide ice sheet retreated, it left fertile debris in this low, wet area, which has become today a marsh characterized by emergent vegetation that makes this wild space habitable to a variety of very interesting and beautiful wildlife. Oh, and take a look here. There is the Beaver Lodge, just to the right of the boardwalk and the wildlife blind as you're heading towards it. As we pan to the left, you will see the Muck blind. There it is. It's a great place to enjoy the wildlife of the Muck. Next time you visit, make sure you bring your binoculars if you have them. And just to the left of the blind here, you'll see a nest of Canada geese. Both the male and the female are sitting on the nest right there. This pair is still sitting on the nest, but other broods are at different stages in the development of their chicks. About a month ago, a goose nest was perched on top of this beaver lodge. Now, the goslings, less than a week old, explore the world, led by mom and dad. Did you know that Canada geese establish lifelong pair bonds and share the responsibilities of caring for their young? Look how closely these young goslings are following their parents' lead as they watch and learn what's good to eat, where it's safe to go, and it's typical to have one adult in the front and one adult in the back, keeping those goslings nice and safe in between the two of them. Every once in a while, every hungry parent has to stop and get themselves fed. One of the most common sounds in the marsh, the call of the red-winged blackbird. These red-winged blackbirds are residents of the Muck from March through October, breeding among the cattails, and unlike the male's striking coloration with a bold red shoulder patch, females are brown and black and blend in with the marsh vegetation so as to avoid being detected by predators while sitting on the nest. Let's take another close look at the red-winged blackbird as it makes its call out over the marsh. Here is the red-winged blackbird's neighbor to the far north, the rusty blackbird, which breeds in Canada. Now, the rusty blackbird passes through on migration each spring and fall. And here, one can be observed at the edge of the cattails, foraging for insects, seeds, and grains that it can find along the water's edge. The call of the rusty blackbird has been likened to that of a squeaky gate. Let's give it a listen. Now let's take a look at the red-winged blackbird and the rusty blackbird side by side. As you can see on the left, our red-winged blackbird has bold red and yellowish shoulder patch that is lacking on the rusty blackbird. Rusty blackbird doesn't have that. Another thing that you may notice is that the beak of the red-winged blackbird is more sharply pointed than that of the rusty, which that's kind of a subtle difference. Another difference is if you take a look at the eyes. The eye of the red-winged blackbird is black, and the eye of the rusty blackbird is kind of a pale yellowish color. So those are some differences that you can notice in the plumage of these two blackbird species that are present at the Muck this time of year. Well, here's a rare sighting, and it's one that many find to be one of the most interesting birds in the marsh, the Virginia rail. It's relatively rare to see one out in the open like this. Now let's take a closer look at the Virginia rail. In the thick of its habitat, you see we have cattails all around here. It's in the thick of it. I took this picture from the boardwalk. Notice the bluish face patch of the Virginia rail and this kind of rusty coloration on the breast and belly. And one of the things that stands out to most people is this kind of longish down-curved beak that the Virginia rail will use for foraging. And while it's making its way through the cattails in the marsh here, it's looking for snails, insects, spiders, in addition to some seeds to fulfill its dietary requirements. So this is a really nice close-up look at the Virginia rail that you have to be very patient. Let's put it that way. You have to be very patient to get a look like this one at this relatively rare species, but is locally common here at the Muck. The Virginia rail makes a call that has been said to sound like the grunting of a pig. That's probably the first sign of its presence that you'll notice if you come here to see one. It sounds kind of like this. Wood ducks nest in boxes like this one that has a hole in the front that's made to mimic a natural tree cavity. Whoa, look at that! There goes a male wood duck. Let's see if we can get a closer look at him. Like the blackbird, the male wood duck's plumage is made to stand out, while the female's plumage helps her to blend in. Wow, look at that striking body structure and beautiful plumage. One of the interesting things to note about the wood duck is that you're just as likely to find this duck perched on a tree branch as you are in the water. I suppose you could say that the wood duck is aptly named. Now there's one more species of wild neighbor that I'm very excited to show you today, and we have to depart the lot at the Muck here. We're going to make a right back onto Route 287, and just a little ways up the road on the left side there is a pond, and on the other side of the pond is a great blue heron rookery. And it's pretty fantastic. So let's drive on up the road to the spot. I don't see any cars coming, so I'm just going to make a left here and pull in. But there's another way. You can go down to the end of the road there and then cut it on a side road and turn around there and come back up. If there's more traffic, you can do it that way. So here we are at the spot of the great blue heron rookery. So let's get out of the car and see if I can give you a nice look at some of these nests. Great blue herons nest in colonies like this one. There are about 30 nests in these couple of trees, and each nest is attended by a mated pair of great blue herons. After the young have fledged in May, they'll disperse and live relatively solitary lives for the rest of the year. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this wildlife tour of State Game Lands 313, the Muck, as well as the heron rookery up the road. See you next time.